Jen Bavry serves as OCALI's Family and Community Outreach Center Program Director. She has been instrumental in supporting OCALI initiatives to equip families with information and resources. Additionally, Jen has led efforts to enhance community awareness and access, such as building the knowledge and understanding of future hospitality industry leaders. As a parent of an autistic son, Jen is a strong advocate for individuals and families having access to supports leading to more opportunities and greater outcomes. Without further ado, Ms. Bavry, we are excited to learn from you today.
Thanks, Hadley. It's weird hearing Miss Bavry. I feel like I'm in school. Go ahead if you want to advance the next slide. Thanks. Well, welcome. I am really excited to be here with all of you. And as Hadley said, I'm Jen Bavry. So I'm the program director for the Family and Community Outreach Center at OCALI. And I was so delighted to be asked to participate in this inaugural Ohio Family Engagement Leadership Summit. As a parent of a young man with autism and as a professional working in the field of autism and disabilities, these opportunities to gather together and learn and network always just bring such inspiration and energy. And I'm hoping, I know this is the last session of the day, I'm hoping that I can continue that energy by sharing OCALI with all of you and our resources supporting engagement and learning, especially during this time of remote learning. So to begin, I know I heard Barbara at the beginning talking about all of the different folks who are on this register in different roles, and I would really like to learn a little bit more about who's here today. So if you don't mind using the chat, I've got two questions for you. One, if you could share your role. Are you an administrator, educator, family member, community partner, and where you are from, city or county, or if you or state if you're outside of Ohio. Oh, great, parent mentors. Hello. This is great. Wonderful. Lots of folks here. This is awesome. I'm so excited to have all of you here, and like I said, to be able to share our resources with you. And so Hadley, if you want to go ahead and move to the next slide. So real quick, our time together, it'll fly by, I know it will, but we will just do a quick overview of OCALI, touch a little bit more on some of the work that's happening in my center, the Family and Community Outreach Center, talk a little bit about some of the things that OCALI did in response to the shift to remote learning, and then have a little bit of time at the end to just share some resources and ways that you can learn more about what's going on with OCALI, and of course time for questions. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so now that you guys have all filled out the chat with where you're from and your roles, I've got another question for you. I always like to ask this one at the beginning just to find out how many of you are familiar with OCALI, either a yes or no, and then if you are familiar with OCALI, if there's any particular resources that you have accessed. I love it, so many yeses. Here to help, great, yeah. And some no's, okay, good. Modules. This is great, okay. So for those of you who are familiar, some of the stuff I'm about to share is, should sound the same. And then for those of you who are not, excuse me, some information about OCALI. So OCALI was established through legislation to administer programs and coordinate services across the lifespan for people with autism and low incidence disabilities. And our vision, or why we do what we do, is to ensure people with disabilities have the opportunity to live their best lives. And we do this by inspiring change and promoting access to those opportunities. And how we do this is through some core functions. So we inform public policy, We develop and deploy best practices, as well as consult and collaborate with our partners across the state, including state agencies such as the Ohio Department of Education, the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. We also work closely with our regional state support teams, school districts, community programs, family groups, and so many networks and work groups across the state. And although we often do get calls asking how to enroll someone in our center, we are actually not a direct service provider, but instead we are a clearinghouse for information and resources and those evidence-based strategies to assist anyone, families, professionals, educators who care for and support people with disabilities across the lifespan. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And our OCALI's work is supported through our centers. All of our centers strive to really help to equip educators, professionals, and families to really support people across the lifespan. And the organization of our centers and the projects that we have help us kind of focus those efforts in specific areas to meet the needs of those who we serve with that diverse set of needs across the lifespan. And so on the slide right now, I've got a list of all of our different centers, and I'll quickly touch on them so that we can spend some more time later talking about some of our resources. But our work is supported through our Autism Center, which works to build the capacity of school districts and other education agencies to improve instruction and support for individuals with autism. We have our Center for the Young Child, which does exactly that. It promotes that strong start and kind of that sets that positive course for young children with disabilities, because early experiences really impact that lifelong outcome. And of course, we've got the Family and Community Outreach Center, which I'll share more about that one in a moment. Next is our Lifespan Transition Center, and that center really focuses on that transition period to make sure that communities are well equipped to support the successful and unique transition for individuals with disabilities. Our Teaching Diverse Learner Center works to ensure that learners with low incidence disabilities have access to equal and effective educational opportunities. Next is our Universal Design for Learning Center, and this center really focuses on increasing that access and equity through our purposeful planning that leads to that meaningful instruction for all students. And then the next two centers actually came to OCALI in 2016. They are the Outreach Center for Deafness and Blindness and the Assistive Technology and Accessible Education Materials Center. Our Outreach Center really focuses on increasing access and communication and equity for learners who are deaf, hard of hearing, blind, or visually impaired. And then our Assistive Technology and Accessible Education Materials focuses on making sure that people with disabilities have the right materials and the technology to really help support them, such as Braille and large print and communication devices. And then our last center is our Autism Certification Center, which houses our ASD Strategies in Action training, which is an online video-based training that provides practical information, real-life examples, and skills to ensure families and providers are equipped to effectively care for, support, educate, employ, work with individuals on the autism spectrum from early childhood to young adulthood. And then in addition to our 9 centers, we also, OCALI's mission is supported through 3 additional areas: our Office of Policy, which really works hard to connect research to policy to ensure that there's equity and access for people with disabilities. They work closely across public and private sectors to help inform decision makers. It's really important that decision makers have that information about the latest research, the latest resources, evidence-based strategies to really help make kind of informed decisions, and which then can lead to the practical and innovative ideas to really help improve and enhance the lives of people with disabilities. Next is our annual conference, OCALICon, and our conference brings together over 3,000 participants from around the world. It's a great opportunity to be able to network and share research, best practices, and resources supporting the lifelong needs of people with disabilities, including those with autism, sensory, and low incidence disabilities. And last is our lending library. And the library has so many amazing resources: free books, videos, assistive technology devices, assessment tools, and just a lot of other great resources to really help support and people who are, working and caring for individuals with disabilities, to make sure they have, accessible materials, resources, and technology. Right now, our library is still in the process of reopening, so I do want to mention that just with the COVID shutdown, we are just kind of in the process of getting things rolling again. So I feel like I just talked extremely fast and just sharing everything about OCALI. So I just wanted to pause for a second, see if anyone has any questions before we move on. Okay. I think we're good. Okay. Okay. So the Family and Community Outreach Center, I've been in the center now for about 2 years, and our center really, our focus is to make sure that families are equipped with knowledge and information and resources to really support the whole family, including the person with a disability. And it's important for me personally, for my colleagues in OCALI, that families are included in everything that we're doing. They are really truly the asset to ensuring people with disabilities have that opportunity to live their best lives. And so through the Family Center, we have a couple different areas where we really want to make sure that families are staying connected in the areas that we are focusing on. We have a lot of great information for families. So we've got online trainings, just like the ASD Strategy in Action that I mentioned earlier. We also provide a lot of information guides to really help support those who are just getting started or in those transition periods. And we really want to make sure that folks are aware of resources that are available to them, as well as be able to connect them to agencies. We also recently launched a couple different workshops, and these have been well received. They were in person, and we did just host one in July that was virtual that seemed to go over really well. But just having that opportunity for parents and family members to be able to connect with experts in the field and ask questions and just be able to get that information, especially if they're just learning about it for the first time. So it was great to be able to host those workshops, and we are still planning some more going forward. And then one of my favorite things that the Family Center really focuses on is opportunities for families to hear from families or to learn from others. And so we've got a couple different video series where it's an advice from parents, and we also have been trying to work on and adding some more podcasts to our collection under the From My Perspective. And that's just an area that I really think, I know it benefited me when when we first started with my son, 18 years ago. So it's always great to be able to hear from others and learn from others' experiences. The Family Center also works closely with our Office of Policy to really make sure that we can help support informing those policies and the work that benefits families and individuals with disabilities. And then the other thing that's actually kind of fairly new to the Family Center is the community outreach piece. When I came into the center last year, that was an area that I really wanted to kind of grow and enhance. Raising awareness and acceptance within the community is just so important. And we really want to ensure that people with disabilities and their families have access to those meaningful experiences in their community that we all have access to. And so we have, just kind of wanted to highlight a couple of the things that we've been able to do in the last few years. One is that we have worked closely with the Ohio State University College of Education and Human Ecology and their hospitality management program to host a dinner called Hospitality Listens that provides an experience for families to kind of have a night out. A family, they have activities planned, they have a great dinner, and this event not only gives families that opportunity to be out for the evening with each other and have a great time, but it also provides an amazing opportunity for the staff and the students to learn about the needs of families. And so having that opportunity to engage with the families in that actual event and learn about things that could help support them as they're growing and moving into the hospitality industry. So it's been a wonderful event, and it's actually, I think we've had 6 of them so far. I know this year the plans are we're not sure where things are going to go, and but hopefully we'll be able to do something this year to really help support the students in their learning. Last year we also had the awesome opportunity to partner with the Ohio State Fair to host the first sensory friendly morning. And it was just, again, another amazing opportunity for folks to have access to a community experience that they may not have had to have access to in the past. And again, we were all very disappointed with it being canceled this year, but we already are starting to think about next year. And so, as I kind of mentioned, we at OCALI, it's really, families are, so important. And the work that we do in the Family and Community Outreach Center is not just in our center. The family work happens across OCALI. And so that's actually an area that one area that I really like to focus on too, is just being able to make sure that, families are part of everything that we do. And this was demonstrated, I guess you could say, when we did our, with our response during COVID-19. And Hadley, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay.
Yes, and we have about 14 minutes left.
Okay, great, thank you. So real quick here, I don't know how many of you have had an opportunity to check out our Here to Help resources, but when everything shifted back in March, we knew we needed to respond, but we also recognized the fact that people were, there was so much information out there, so much was happening, and I think it was, in some ways it might have been a bit overwhelming. In addition to trying to figure out new ways of living and working and learning, you also had an overwhelming amount of resources coming your way. So what we really focused on during that time is gathering all of those resources and trying to put together some simple, easy, digestible videos that folks could grab and go with. And so what came from that then was our Here to Help campaign. And this campaign included, as I mentioned, kind of we really wanted to focus on making sure that families, caregivers, educators, and professionals had what they needed to, or could access things that they needed to when they wanted, when they could. And so what we did is we actually pulled together over 100 resources, and we have a couple different web pages that we set up where there's resources for families, there's resources for educators, and we also launched a video series in which we could share tips and ideas, specific resources and strategies for our families, just to make sure that they could access things when they needed to. And the area that we really wanted to focus on, I've included here some of the areas that we focused our support, was really making sure that individuals or students with disabilities had access and could participate in learning. And so this was really a critical thing for our group, because we wanted to make sure that educators and families were aware of the resources that were out there to support access and participation, as well as how they could actually apply them. So part of our video series included a couple different areas focused on setting up a Google Classroom, using descriptive language, because for several folks sometimes it needs the visual part, having some additional language really helps increase the accessibility and comprehension. And of course, providing captions, that's something that I think we're always trying to make sure that we can do, because again, it just really helps to support access and learning. In addition to that, we focused on creating those accessible learning environments. In this particular area, with the shift to learning at home and making sure that students and families, knew what to expect or what to do, we were able to share a couple different resources to help support that, and just some tips and some ideas on how you could set up a desk space, or you could set up some pictures or some, how you could actually, what visuals to use to really help support families. And this was a great opportunity for families and educators to kind of work together, educators reaching out to families to say, here are some things that, we've done in the classroom, how can we support you with having these things at home? And families also then reaching out with educators to find out, letting them know, this is what I have available at home, and this is what I think we can do. So it's just a great opportunity to be able to share some ideas and some resources to support that. In addition, it's also some of the resources we wanted to make sure folks were aware of, is just what are some of those natural learning opportunities in the home too that you could take advantage of that may not necessarily be something that can happen in the school. For example, for my son, he feeds the dog. And so we were able to kind of look at some of how could we enhance that? How could we build on that? And how could we kind of support some of his daily living skills and his, academic skills through some of these natural opportunities and these different chores that he has. We also, as I mentioned, visuals and having different things at home to really help support that routine and that structure was important too. And so we shared a lot of resources through this Here to Help campaign around that area of routine and structure. Setting up a routine, how can you do that? Or what are some simple things to consider? Different visuals. Our Autism Center created and shared a ton of social narratives to really help individuals understand what was going on, what was the change with COVID, why can't I be in the classroom, why can't I see my friends? And then they've added to that just as things have shifted over the last few months. And in addition to, they've also added some in Spanish. So we've been able to offer this resource in a variety of ways. We also focused on some resources to help with self-regulation. Just right now with all of the different emotions and understanding what's going on and managing stress, we wanted to make sure that families and educators had some tools and some different techniques that they could look at and consider to help support their student during this time, or their child during this time. We also looked at self-care. It's really important. I know that this is still a major topic, a big topic for all of us, and one that I think we all know is important, but all know that can be challenging to add in at times. And so we focused a couple of our resources in this Here to Help video series on just that, taking care of yourself, taking breaks. We also did a wonderful clip on how to set up a calming spot or a home base at home. And this is an area that's designed where an individual can just go to and just chill and have a few minutes away from everything to be able to reset and come back to either doing work or school assignments. And of course, we didn't want to forget about the fun. We wanted to make sure that during this time of change and new ways of just socializing and living, and that we're still thinking about fun, and we wanted to make sure our families and our professionals were still thinking about that too. So we've also, again, through the resources that we shared on the web pages and the video gallery, we just wanted to make sure we were offering as much as we could for folks so they could take it and go and find something that really could help support them right now. And I know we're kind of running a little short on time here, but I have to ask this one question, if you guys are open to sharing this. Speaking of those fun times, I'm just curious, what are some things that you led something or you were part of something, either personally or professionally, that was just a fun time, a fun activity that you were able to include during this pandemic? Because I always want to get some great ideas here to share with others. So if you want to use the chat to share any of these ideas, that would be great. I've heard, yeah, lots of baking. I think there's been even baking challenges out there, so that's great. Board games, yeah. All right. Well, Hadley, if you want to go to the next slide. Movie and dinner night. Okay. Ooh, I love the tug of war idea. That's great. And I see someone mentioned puppy training. Awesome. All right. So I encourage all of you guys to check out the Here to Help videos. They still apply. I mean, I think when we launched them, we were really focused on what was happening in the spring, but a lot of those resources can still support you now. And so I definitely, there's 27 videos. So, and they're each around 4 minutes. Again, the idea was trying to have something simple that folks could access and grab and go. And then of course there's resources that are attached to all of them if you want to explore more. And so at OCALI, we're still continuing this Here to Help effort. We are going to be focusing on, what are the needs, what are those continuing needs? What is needed there to help with learning and connecting and providing support, especially right now where kids are still either in a virtual setting or a hybrid setting, or back to school full time, but everything definitely looks different. And so we are actually a week from today launching a new series called the Inspire Ed Virtual Learning Series. And this is kind of a webcast series that will focus on providing experiences, tools, and resources to really help assist with that facilitation of educating students online. This effort is in partnership with the Ohio Department of Education. And as I mentioned, it's going to launch next Thursday. We've got 3 sessions lined up, and then we will continue to add sessions that'll be held every Thursday after that. The first one that we will be hosting next Thursday is using and delivery of accessible education materials. So a lot of the work that's coming out of our Assistive Technology and Accessible Education Materials Center. So they'll be sharing some ideas on that. Following that one will be setting up and learning environment and building skills in the natural home setting. And then the third webinar that we've got scheduled right now will be supporting positive behaviors. So a lot of great stuff coming through this learning series. So I'm really excited to be able to share that with you guys today. And hopefully you can sign up. These are free sessions. So you can actually, I'll give some information about our website at the end, and you just can go straight there to log in or to register and gain access. OCALI's still continuing all of our work as far as professional development and technical assistance, and really making sure that folks are still feeling very supported during these unique learning times. We are just making sure that we are shifting as well and making sure that everything is accessible, that our trainings are offered virtually, that we are offering information in a variety of ways. Our online learning resources are still available. So if you are looking to, enhance your skills or just expand your knowledge, I really encourage you to check out our online learning resources. We've got our ASD strategies and action modules, our promoting access for people who are deaf, hard of hearing, blind or visually impaired video module. And our Center for the Young Child has also recently released a suite of resources for early childhood professionals. And the newest module is on responding to trauma and supporting resilience. So a great one to check out. And then our conference, OCALI Con, which we are now referring to as OCALI Con Online, is going virtual. It will be held November 11th through 13th. And we invite you to join us for that and be part of the community. Our sessions that are going to be taking place will include things such as accessibility, early intervention, equity, family support, mental and behavior health, social and emotional skills, as well as sessions related to transition, and so much more. And we do have our session sorter available, so you can actually go and check out which sessions are going to be taking place at our conference this year and register. And then I guess we can go to the next slide. Okay. And so, yeah, right, it's 2:30 now, so I wish we had more time to really dive into a lot of these resources. There's always just so much to share, and sometimes I just get carried away. So I really do encourage all of you to learn more. check out OCALI. Just go visit our website, ocali.org. So that's OCALI.org to learn more about the resources that I mentioned today, and explore the other ones that we have there. Register for our webinars, our online courses, and of course our conference. We do have a monthly newsletter, so you can actually sign up to access that newsletter. It's delivered right to your inbox each month. And then of course you can follow us on social media. And so I think we're ready to move on to the next slide and open up for questions. And I see one on there. Yes, guest speaker, Temple Grandin. Yes, she will be there on Friday for our conference this year. I guess, yeah, if there's any other questions out there.
Thank you so much for sharing all of these resources. I've found several that I want to make sure to get on our website. So I'm going to put it in our forms so that we can get them posted. And we always love partnering with OCALI. So thank you so much, Jen Bavry, for sharing your time and knowledge with us today.